What's up, Mopar fam? I hope everybody out there is having a fantastic time. So, you know what time it is? We got the TorqStorm Supercharger and we got the truck at the shop. So we're going to tear into this thing. We're going to start getting this thing installed. So we're not going to waste any time, guys. Let's get to it. So here is the instructions and we're going to see what the first thing is we got to do. So per step 1, they want us to unplug the ATI sensor and remove the factory air box or cold air intake setup. They suggest you drain the coolant, and they tell you where the drain plug is, located on the driver's side, lower half of the radiator. Some pictures of a stock Ram airbox setup, the IAT, and that's what we need it to look like when we get done. Big empty hole. So let's go get my Mopar intake off. Alright, so we're going to get this big Mopar cold air intake out of here. And your IAT sensor plug is right here, so you're just going to pop the little red clip, press the button, unplug that, and we'll just let that lay to the side. And there's a 5/16 screw clamp right here. We're going to get that loose. And then that tube pops off. Got our hose clamp off. This big box more or less just kind of sits in this pocket here on a couple of studs, so we're just going to kind of pull up on it. Hurts my feelings to get rid of this guy, but it's for a good cause. Alright, we're going to go lay this in the back of the truck. That pretty much does that. We got a great big hole here now, and that is where the supercharger is going to be sitting, is over here on this side. So heck yeah, let's go see what next step is, guys. Step 2, this is installing the thermostat neck housing that they supply us, but this is only if your truck is equipped with the electric thermostatically controlled cooling. Mine is not, so we get to skip this step, so we do not have to do this because we already have this type of a thermostat neck already on my truck. I believe this step would be for the newer trucks, but we get to skip this one. So moving on. Step 3. Alright, we're going to have to remove the factory balancer on the crankshaft so that we can, we can install the new ATI damper pulley. And this is a toolkit they suggest that works pretty good. Part number 13450. You can rent this at like AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whatnot. I actually found one at O'Reilly's, and it's a different part number, but more or less the same kind of puller. Part number 67005, and it costs $80 to rent this for 48 hours, and as long as you bring it back in 48 hours or less, you get your full $80 refund back. So basically you get to borrow the tool for free. That's pretty cool. So that's what it's going to be. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to raise the truck up on the lift so we can get underneath it. It's going to be a little easier to work underneath the truck to do this, so let's get it up. Going on up. Get our tools off real quick. We are under the truck. That is the Harmonic balancer pulley, which is the one the big pulley on the very bottom of the engine, right on the crankshaft. The one part they didn't mention was we gotta get the old belt off. So 3/8 drive ratchet and put it in the tensioner right here. There's a little square spot for your ratchet head to go in, and that will be where you put the ratchet. And then you will pull it towards the passenger side to loosen the belt. As you can see, the belt dropping. And we'll pull the belt off, get it out of the way. So now we are free, and we will get this big bolt out of the harmonic balancer. Alright, so we got our impact gun and a 21mm socket. So we're going to get this big bolt loose. Not too bad. Definitely a lot easier if you have an impact gun, for sure. Alright, and we're going to go get our puller and get our puller set up for this thing so we can get it out. The next step is going to be, we put our big bolt, we just kind of threaded it in a little bit. We have our special tool, the harmonic balancer tool, and it is going to go in between these little holes right here. The jaws go inside them holes, and that's pretty much it. So once you get them into position, just kind of make sure they're locked, and we'll get our threaded bolt that came with the puller. And what it's going to do is thread down against the factory bolt. And then once it bottoms out, we'll put our impact gun on here and tighten it up, and basically what happens is it pulls the pulley off. Alright, so we got it into position. So let's get our tool on here, start tightening up and see if it'll pull it off. She's moving. Alright guys, she is about to go. I think we can pull it the rest of the way off with our hand here. Oh, there she is. She's heavy too, so don't let it hit you in the head. Alright, so the next step, guys, is they want us to press on the new ATI balancer using the supplied threaded assembly right here. And I have the ATI damper pulley removed from the box. And this is what it is. It's actually a 3-piece setup. You have your main section, you have a hub and a pulley. And here's the instructions that comes with the ATI kit. So this is how to assemble it. So we're going to follow these directions and assemble this damper. There is some pretty strict directions here, so definitely pay attention and do what they say right here, because you're supposed to torque and Loctite said hardware. So I'm gonna get this thing assembled and then we'll get it up to the truck. Alright guys, so this is pretty straightforward. I do believe we're not actually going to use this that comes in the box, because we will be putting on the big TorqStorm pulley that goes on the front of this. So basically when you get out of the box, you have two parts. You got the hub and the actual balancer assembly. And basically what you're going to do is, I noticed there's a dot on the back here, and then the hub has a little dot next to that bolt hole right here. So if you line those up, it pretty much will get your bolt holes lined up. There it goes. Definitely very tight, snug fit, but it has to be. So, alright, we got our bolt holes lined up right there. And it comes with some hardware. These are Torx screws right here. And they already have blue Loctite applied. So we're going to thread those in. You can see they're going to go where the tapered holes are, because the back of these heads are tapered as well. And the goal today, guys, is I'm trying to just get done with the crank pinning and this pulley installed. If we can get this crank pulley installed and the crank pinned, I'm going to call it a day for tonight. Alright, so these are going to be a T40 Torx. And we're going to get our impact gun here. Run these guys down. Go back around them. And we're going to torque those to precisely about 3 to 4 motherfuckers. Should be good. But let's get this thing over to the truck and get it pressed on. Alright, so one quick thing. So this was the balancer install kit that TorqStorm sent us. Inside this box was this all threaded rod, a very thick spacer that actually is, don't know if you can see that, but it says crank side. So not sure what the difference is, but they want that towards the crank apparently. And it's got a big nut on it. And this is the tool used to press on the new damper pulley. That is what they're wanting you to use to press on the new pulley. So there's our crank. And of course, the factory crank is not a keyed crankshaft. That's why the old harmonic balancers are so hard to pull off, because they're pressed on. And that's pretty much how they're held on. Is it's a really tight fit. They're pressed on, and then there's a bolt obviously that keeps them on there. So that's the purpose of why we have to pin the crank. We'll be drilling a hole in the side of the front side of the crankshaft here to insert a pin, and that is basically a precautionary, because with extra force on this pulley with a supercharger, you don't want the pulley to actually spin around the crankshaft if it was to come loose, and that would cause damage to the crankshaft. So basically this will go on like the old harmonic balancer, but it will have a pin inserted through it to keep it from shearing in case something was to try to come loose or it spin around the crankshaft. So that is the idea. Let's get this guy on. Slide it up there. And that's as far as we're going to get without tightening it up with the hardware they supplied us, which is this big stuff right here. So we're going to insert that. And basically, I'm assuming you thread in this rod into the crank, probably a good bit, so it grabs a good mess of threads. And then we'll tighten down this nut, and then we'll get the impact gun, and it will drive this pulley onto the crankshaft. So we're going to go on to step 4, which is going to be actually pinning the crankshaft. This is the measurements they're telling you to do as far as marking the drill bit with some tape like we did here. And that is going to be how far we're going to drill so that we can insert these pins in the crankshaft. This is the special tool they supply to be able to get the right measurements and depth of the drilling process. So we're going to get to it. So we're going to take our special tool that they gave us, our drill guide, and we are going to put it up here. There we go. Then we're going to kind of tap it in a little bit. Alright, and then they give us a bolt to lock it in place while we're doing our drilling. So we're going to thread that in and get a impact gun, and we're going to tighten that down. Tighten this dude down. Just make it extra tight. That way we know she ain't moving. Alright, we're going to get a drill and our drill bit, and we're going to start drilling, guys. Here we go. It does run off the air compressor, so it's going to be loud. Alright guys, we got our crank drilled. We're going to take the bolt loose and remove the tool and see what she looks like. Alright guys, we got our tool out, we got our crank holes drilled for the pin. Show you guys what it looks like. There you go. Did pretty good. So there you go guys, we got both the holes drilled for the crank pins as you've seen. So we're about to insert the dowel pins that they supply us. This is a double pin kit. Some kits only come with one pin, so this kit's pretty nice because it comes with double pins, so there's no way this crank pulley is going to slip on the crankshaft, that's for sure. So, do want to say that, you know, that is a scary part, and a lot of people don't really like the idea of drilling into their crankshaft, and I will tell you, neither do I, but it's a necessity, you got to do it, and it's really not that bad. And as far as technical side of it, it's really not hard, guys. But I will tell you, it was a pain in the ass. And what I mean by that is it pretty much almost whooped my ass. I'm not the biggest dude on the block, but there's not a lot of room in there to get a drill in. So you're pushing on the drill with all your basically forearm strength. And it's a long process of drilling to get to the depth you got to get get these pins in all the way. So it physically just almost wore me out, and that was very difficult. But not, you know, to the point where you can't do it. Just expect it to be a lot of endurance, and drilling time is definitely not going to go by very quickly. So you're going to be there a while getting those holes drilled out. Other than that, not that bad, but a little bit on the physical tough side right there for sure. All right, as you see guys, we got both of the dowel pins installed in the crank. They just slide right in, not hard at all. That was a very simple part of this little process. The drilling was the most difficult part. Putting the pins in, very simple. So we're gonna put some Loctite on a bolt and we're gonna tighten this thing up. All right guys, we got our new bolt and our big washer that TorqStorm supplied us. They said to apply red Loctite to this bolt, and we did. I also cleaned out the threads in the crank with brake cleaner and this bolt before, and then blew it out with air before we put this stuff on there, so it's nice and clean and it'll get a good bite. We're going to torque that to approximately 7 to 8 motherfuckers. Alright guys, so we got the crank pulley completely bolted on, drilled, pinned, and everything. Next step is step 10. It is install the supercharger crank pulley using the 3 bolts they supply. And then they want us to torque that to about 29 foot-pounds, which equals out to usually roughly about 6 motherfuckers. So we're going to grab that big, nice, shiny pulley, and we're going to bolt it to the front of that new ATI pulley that we just installed. So let's get it done. We got our big, new, shiny supercharger pulley here. And it's held on by 3 bolts that is supplied in the kit. There's three bolts. It's 3 Allen heads and a washer. Alright, we are torqued down to about 6 or 7 motherfuckers. And she's on there, boys. I mean, whew, I'm going to have to clean it up now after getting it dirty. But we are ready to roll. Literally. Alright. Alright, Mopar fam. We got pretty good today. We got the crank done, drilled, pinned, supercharger pulley installed. So we made a good progress today. So I think I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. It's time to go home, get cleaned up, get a little bit of sleep, and then go back to work, and then we're gonna do it again tomorrow. So as always, guys, stay safe out there. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, tap the bell button for the notifications so you don't miss anything, and we'll see you on the next one.